Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chell, this is Chell Reads a Bit. We are in the US, and it's the first time I've done one of these videos in a long time. The last time I did one of these videos was back in Thailand, but I am in the US. If you haven't seen my video where I update about why I am back in the US, then I will link that down below. But I am back in the US, and before we get into what the video is today, if you enjoy my videos, please feel free to give a like and subscribe. I would love to have you here. It really makes my day, and I love seeing you here. Let's get into the video. It's been a bit, but I'm doing a tier list ranking video. I had started this last year in 2023 instead of doing like a normal wrap-up, it's me tier ranking the books that I read in the month. Just like last year, I need to get caught up on the previous months to then get into March's tier, the books that I read in March. But the thing is that I didn't read much of anything at the beginning of this year. So I didn't read anything in February, and I barely read anything in January. So it's been a time, but I do have some books that I read in March. But first I'm going to start with January and get to March. And if I'm all over the place or whatever, bear with me. And if the audio, camera, or lighting is off, my husband isn't here to help me, so fingers crossed that this looks good. But I am here to do a tier list ranking video that I'm going to do at the end of every month to rank the books that I've read in that month. So we're going to start with January. I do have a new tier list. It is here. I don't have my glasses on, so bear with me. The new tier list for 2024 is going to be a little bit of a nerdy, dorky, different one. So it's gonna, the tiers are gonna be a little odd, so I'm gonna explain them. So the first tier is Nat 20, and the story behind this one, my sister got me into Dimension 20, which is a YouTube channel, but they also have like this like platform called Dropout. It's from College Humor, and they do D&D campaigns on there, so I've been really loving watching the Fantasy High one. It's amazing. I totally recommend. So this one is inspired by that. So the first tier, the best tier, the top tier is Nat 20, because that's like the biggest thing. When people get a Nat 20, they're all hype about it. So Nat 20, best book, top tier book. So that's what would constitute being in that tier. Then the next tier is A Little Injured. A lot of these are like quotes that Brennan Lee Mulligan uses when describing how hurt a character is or how close to death they are. So just a little injured means it was good, but there was a little bit of damage. Just a little bit. It's not quite perfect Nat 20 level, but it is still good. And then after that is Bloodied, which means it's fine, but it's not doing too good. It's gonna need some time. Like, that's where mad books would probably go, because they're not quite good and they're not quite bad, so they're kind of like in the middle. And then Not Looking Good is books that are like not quite bad, but they're not good. Like, you might need to see somebody about this, because this is not looking so good. So books that are not terrible, but aren't meh or good will go there. And then Critical Failure is like a Nat 1. You're dead. You're gone. You're horrible. This is a terrible situation. This is bad. This is not a good time. That you're just dead. You're dead to me. And that's pretty much what that is. And then Didn't Even Make the Campaign is my DNFs, which I did specify here, but it didn't make the campaign. She wasn't chosen. She did not make the cut. So any books that I DNF will go and didn't even make the campaign, because I didn't finish it. So those are the tiers. If you have any confusion or whatever, you can always leave a comment and I can explain it down below. But I know it's very nerdy and dorky, but I'm very much into watching them play these campaigns. I do really enjoy D&D. I've never played it, but I'm really, really enjoying watching it, and it's hilarious and it's fun, and I totally recommend it. I'm watching Fantasy High, their series on that, so that is why the tiers are like that. That's where we're at with that. Since we've gone over the tiers, let's get into the ranking. So we're gonna start with January. January was a very mixed month because when I was in Thailand there was a lot going on. There was a lot of planning that was going on, so it was not the best time. But I did read a Dowry of Blood, and I'd have to say I didn't enjoy it. The problems I had with it are like ones that some of the other people that I've watched who didn't enjoy it have, that it's like, since it is written in letters, it's hard to get connected with these characters as much as if it's like not written like that. And like the whole like saying you thing kind of like put me off sometimes, and I just didn't enjoy it. It was like flowery writing, but there was really no substance a lot of the times, and like the reasoning for things was I didn't like it, but I wouldn't say that I hated it. So I would say it's not looking good. Which in the book they weren't looking too good. But that's where I would put it. It's not bad, but it's not good for me. I personally did not enjoy the ride. I didn't enjoy the story. I just felt like there was nothing to connect to, and I didn't like it. I'm sorry. I just didn't like it. The chibi pick was A Dowry of Blood, and then the next one was, I gave my husband 3 Fairy Loot books for me to read, and he put them in order of how I should read them, and he chose first A Curse of Saints, then Son of Blood and Ruin, and then the Adventures of Amina, al-Sarafi. So if you want to see that vlog, I'll have the playlist linked down below. First he wanted me to read A Curse of Saints. So that is what I read, and I didn't like it. Critical failure. It was so generic. It literally was a mixture of, if you took the Foxglove King and Serpent and Dove, you mix those together, you'd get this book. It just wasn't good. It was boring. I just didn't see the point, and I skipped to the end, and I'm like, if I would have, no, I didn't, well, I did read it, but I kind of skimmed a lot, but it was, like, pointless, like, for what? For why? Like, there was no, it literally was not a copy and paste, but it literally felt like the same story as those two. If you just took those, like, just jumbled the pages and put them into the same book, it would have been this book. It was nothing new, it wasn't crazy. It was predictable. I didn't enjoy the characters. I don't understand how it was considered adult, other than maybe some of the language, but other than that, I don't see why this was chosen as a Fairy Loot book. And I didn't even like the cover, but I just didn't enjoy it. I think it was just the same story as I've read, which for other people might be fine, because if it's the first book kind of like that, then they might enjoy it. But I just didn't I didn't care for the writing. I didn't care for the story. Like I'm saying numerous times now, it literally just felt like a story that I've read. There's nothing really deviating from it. It's been a bit since I read it. I don't have it with me, and I really don't care what happens to that book. It just wasn't for me. We're gonna move on. I just didn't like it. The next he had The Son of Blood and Ruin, because I didn't know how I was going to feel about this book. So how he did the putting them in order, he put the one that I wasn't sure about first, then the one that I wasn't sure I was going to like second, and then the one I thought maybe I might enjoy last. And obviously the first one I wasn't sure about, I really didn't care for. And then the second one was Son of Blood and Ruin. Son of Blood and Ruin is a Zorro retelling. I think the backdrop is Mexico and everything. And I enjoyed the culture and the language, the food and all those things. But I just didn't care about the Zorro retelling. I just didn't care about the storyline. I didn't care where it went. I didn't care what happened to the characters. I just didn't care. I love that there is representation in this book, and I think it's very great. But for me, the representation was the best part, but the plot and the story itself didn't do anything for me. I don't care about Zorro, and I knew going into that, but I did give it a go, but I did. She didn't make the campaign. I DNF'd it. I totally recommend if like a Zorro kind of story appeals to you, but it just didn't appeal to me. So I knew going in, but I did give it a good go. I tried, but it just fell flat for me, so I DNF'd it. She didn't make the campaign. And then those were the only 2 in that vlog that I got to. That's where that vlog ended. But then I did try to start, if you'd seen recently, I did a timer challenge. It spanned from the end of January to the end of March. It is now the 1st of April as of filming this, but I did finally get that video out a few days prior to me filming this video. So that is out. The first book I had started when I was still in Thailand was The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. Since I didn't get to it in that reading vlog, I decided I was going to do it in that video. And I did start it in that video, the timer challenge video, and if you've seen it, you know she also didn't make the campaign. She just didn't cut it. She just didn't make it. My issues were, I was very excited for this book because a lot of people love the Dowry of Blood trilogy, which I do own. I do have one of them here. The other one is still in Thailand, so my husband is going to be bringing that back for me. But I am looking forward to that one. I was looking forward to that more than this one anyways, because The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi is a pirate story. She was a pirate. So I already wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it anyways, but I really wanted to enjoy it because people really love this author. But I didn't. So, well, it's more of a personal preference problem. So it's not the book, it's me. This one follows Amina, who was a pirate, who then got out of being a pirate and made a life for herself. She has a child, and then something happens and she's sucked back into the world and kind of is getting the band back together to solve this thing. So that's fine and dandy. I don't like pirate stories. I don't like boats. I'm scared of boats. I want nothing to do with boats. I was gonna try to get over that, but the thing that I couldn't was the amount of religion that was in the book, and that's a personal preference thing. It's not the book's fault, it's me. I just don't care for it. There's certain times where it's fine and I can kind of ignore it or get into it, but most of the times if it's like a fictional religion that's not based on anything real or something really, really different. But for the most part, I prefer not to have religion in my stories, but I can sometimes get past it. The thing is that it right off the jump, it was really hardcore in the God thing. And I know that the story is Amina is Muslim and everything, and I respect it. It's great. I think that's amazing for that there's representation for that. I'm happy that exists. But for me, it's not something I want in a story. Not that specific one, just religion in general. I just don't care for. I was baptized Catholic. I no longer identify as Catholic. I'm not religious in the slightest. I just personally don't I don't find enjoyment in those kinds of stories, and I'm happy for people who do, but I just couldn't get past how much it was brought up. So it was taking me out of the story a lot, and I just didn't care about the story. I knew pirate stories weren't for me. So it was a decision I had to make. My husband was like, why don't you get at least a third in? But that would have been 130, 150 pages into the book. And I only made it 50 pages. I tried, but it was just too often and too much for me to try to get past. And again, it's a me thing. It's not a book thing. It's not like there's an issue with the religion or anything. It's just it's not something I find enjoyable to read in a story. Religion is not something I find comfort in a story. So again, I just made the decision for myself that this was not something I wanted to finish. It's a pirate story. I wasn't going to enjoy it really anyways. I've had really bad luck with pirate stories. She just didn't make the campaign. It's okay. She's going to make somebody else's campaign, and it's going to be a great campaign, but it's just not mine. That was the next one that I DNF'd. And then after that, I picked up 6 Crimson Cranes, and it's about Shiori, who is the only princess in this kingdom, and she's betrothed. She doesn't want to go through with it. Things happen. She has 6 brothers, and the story is her getting cursed, her and her brothers getting cursed, and her trying to break that curse and try to get back to her home. It is a YA. I did get in my fairy loot box long, long ago. It is still in Thailand, if that tells you anything. But I did enjoy it for the most part. I did have issues with it. The things that I loved were, of course, the culture, the magic, those kinds of things, like usual. The writing wasn't too bad. The only thing that really bothered me was like the pacing, the things that, it was very convenient. It was predictable, but there's not an issue with it necessarily being predictable. Like, you can have a predictable book and it still be enjoyable. No issue with that. But it was predictable. But the way certain friendships, certain relationships happened felt really like tell not show, and like it was very quick in how it was happening, very convenient. I didn't see any build up. I didn't see anything that would make me believe it. The pacing was a little off to me, but I still enjoyed my time. I did finish it, so if that tells you anything, I couldn't finish 2 other books. I finished this one. So I did enjoy it, but it's not my favorite, and I was very sad because I was really looking forward to that. I literally took it all the way to Thailand with me, and it's still there because it wasn't a priority to bring back. So I would say Bloodied, because it's just a middle of the road. It's fine. It did what I needed it to do, but it's not something extravagant, or it's definitely not. I did not roll a nat 20 with this one, which is very sad because I really wanted it to. But I do recommend it. It is a interesting time seeing what happens with Shiori, how she gets out of it, and how different things play on each other. But the pacing just wasn't in it, and it just was it was kind of generic in certain aspects and predictable, but other than that, it still was an enjoyable time. It just wasn't the best time that you could possibly get if you rolled a nat 20. And if you don't understand these references, I totally understand, but I totally recommend watching Dimension 20 if you are interested, because it's a good time. It's a good time. I didn't know anything about D&D. I didn't know anything about anything, and my sister would try to tell me, but she showed me Dimension 20, the Fantasy High, and I'm hooked. But anyways, next, I didn't read anything in February. Nothing. I read those in January. February just wasn't a time. Like, the end of January was rough, and then February there was a lot going on. We got married on the 14th on Valentine's Day, which was a great time, but there was a lot of things before that were happening. A lot of, going to the US Embassy, doing different things for that process, but then also personal things that were happening that was making it hard to read, to do things. And I just really wanted to spend time with my husband because I left at the end of February, so I just wanted to spend time with him. So that's what I did. So then I didn't read anything in February. I did try to start something. I read something on the at the airport waiting for my plane. I started reading The Night Circus, but I didn't finish that, so I'm not going to talk about it really here. And then when I got home, immediately my sister was like, you need to read this book. She handed me Bride by Ali Hazelwood, because she was getting into her Ali Hazelwood era. And she really enjoyed this book and wanted me to read it. And I had just seen it on my library app not long ago, but I was like, I was weary to pick up an Ali Hazelwood, especially with the description of and things that happen in The Love Hypothesis. So it kind of put me off, but I was intending to try her out at some point. So when she handed that to me, I was like, okay, I'll try it. So what happened was when I continued doing that timer challenge video, I started by reading that book, Bride. And surprisingly enough, I really, really enjoyed my time. I had a good time. I was laughing out loud. I enjoyed it. It was a predictable story, which is fine. It's to be expected. It was such a good time. So I would have to say it's just a little injured. It's not like quite a nat 20, but I would say it's like probably in 18 and 19 roll. Not bad rolls, but just a little injured. It had something that it made it not quite unscathed. It had a little thing. It had little things. Things were a little predictable. Sometimes it was, I'm not much of a romance reader for the most part. Like, I like romance in books, but when it comes to like a full out romance book, I am hit or miss. I think that the predictability and stuff maybe dragged it down a little bit. So it's not quite a nat 20. I was like not head over heels. After I was done reading, I wasn't like head over heels for it, like new favorite, 5 stars, but I really, really enjoyed it. And it's about Misery, who is a vampire. It's like this world where there's humans, vampires, and werewolves, and she's made to do this arranged marriage with the leader of the werewolves, and there's a lot of conspiracies, plots, something with her best friend has happened, she's trying to get to the bottom of that, there's the mystery of that, and there's just a lot, and, romance ensues, there's a lot of, it has the fated mate trope, which I'm a sucker for. I love this mate trope. Okay, maybe not love, because there's certain elements of that mate trope that I find a little odd, but that it is what it is. No, it's not for everybody, but I do like the mate trope, just not Sarah J. Maas mate trope. She has overdone it. She just needs to stop. But I really enjoyed it in this, minus some elements of it, but I did really enjoy it. And in that video, in my timer challenge where I talk about it, I did mention how me and my sister were talking about how Below, who's the main male character, he does embody the man written by a female, but in a way that it's a good thing, like how, because in the book, the fated mate trope, it's used, but the thing that makes it different, this is based on what my sister said, what makes it different from other fated mate tropes is that the characters make it so that it's a choice. It isn't like you have to do this thing. He makes it known that he would take anything that he was given. If he wasn't given anything, he would be fine with it. But he was giving her the choice and she was giving him the choice. So that was good. Hopefully that's not a spoiler, but there was the element of choice within the fated mate trope in this one instead of just it has to be what it has to be. So that was great. I think that was an amazing thing that was incorporated into the book, and it is a man written by a woman, which is not a bad thing, because clearly men don't know how to act most of the time. The point is that I really enjoyed that mate trope. I really enjoyed the characters. It was hilarious. I laughed out loud. I was finding myself taking pictures and highlighting parts, things that were happening in the book that I found hilarious. So I really, really enjoyed the book. It just wasn't quite a favorite. I really enjoyed it, but it just didn't hit something to make it a nat 20. I'm sorry. I rolled the dice. It didn't quite make it. Then after that, when I had gotten home, my sister also took me to the library, so I did check out 2 books from the library, and I did read them in that timer challenge video. The first one I read was The Naturals, which is the first one in the Naturals series, by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I'd heard about it long ago, but it was never really easy for me to find it here. It's about this girl named Cassie who is very different from her family. Something happens to her mom. She ends up having to live with her nonna and her dad's side of the family. Her dad is, I think, away in the military or something, but she just doesn't feel like she fits in. She's very analytical. She can understand people's personalities by just really looking at them. So pretty much like Criminal Minds. She works at this diner and a boy comes and gives her a business card from the FBI, and it kind of goes from there. She's recruited into this program for the Naturals. It's for these kids who have these natural ability to profile, to read emotions, there's more than that, but those are the only 2 I'll give you. But it was interesting. It was what they can, someone said, blurbed it as the Criminal Minds for the YA world, and I totally agree. I did have an amazing time reading it. Well, I had a good time reading the first one. I really enjoyed the Criminal Minds aspect of it. So I did enjoy the Criminal Minds aspect of it. The things that I really enjoyed that. I love Criminal Minds. I just love the psychology, when they're profiling people. Very interesting. The things that I didn't like are the pacing was also off in this. Things just were progressing in a very weird way. It just felt like boom, 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 and no real natural way of getting to that point. It just felt like it was just going I don't know how to explain it, but then the biggest thing that really took it down for me was how the love triangle came to be, and how it didn't feel organic. It didn't feel like there was any point. It just was told to me, not shown to me. I don't even understand what the appeal is for this main character to like these boys, let alone why these boys would be so obsessed with this one girl. Like, why are they fighting over her? Like, there's nothing to give me the impression that they would want to be with her. Like, it's not explained to me. It's not, like, shown to me why they even like her. It just happens out of nowhere. The two boys like her, and she has to choose between the two. You ain't gonna explain to me why? Like, what is so appealing about her, and what's so appealing about them? Like, what prompted this to be the thing? Like, where was the moment where you really see them building that feeling? There's nothing to give me that. So that really bothered me, because it's like a focal point in the book, and there was like a repetition. Like, it was very repetitive in certain things that were going on, and certain things like Cassie was doing, feeling, and that's fine to a point, but it was like really often, and I was just like, okay. But for the most part, I really did enjoy it. I did enjoy the characters for the most part. The only thing that really hindered it was the relationship, the romance aspect of the book. Everything else, the YA, Criminal Minds, was amazing. But that, how would I put that in the tier list? I don't know. I think I would have to put it in... I would have to put it in Bloodied. Because I really enjoyed the Criminal Minds aspect of it, but it's like the first book, so it's really trying to set the stage for these characters and everything, so I just think it was just too much on that. I don't know how to explain it, but Bloodied, so it's like middle of the road. It's not worse for wear. Like, it can make it in a battle, but it's bloodied. It's taken some damage. It has blood on it, but it's not like not able to continue, you know? But is that fair when I did enjoy it? This is hard, because would I say I liked it just as much as Bride? Or like on the same level as Bride? I don't know. For that one, no. I'm just gonna leave it at Bloodied. And then we're gonna leave it at Bloodied. Because I did then read Killer Instinct, which is the second book. And I think that the second book was even better than the first one. So I think I would put Killer Instinct in A Little Injured, because there still was that stupid love triangle aspect, and I still didn't understand where it was, how it got to that point. But since I was already established in the first book, it didn't take me out as much in the second one. And the Criminal Minds aspect was really criminal mindsing, and I just really, really enjoyed the second one, especially since it's a continuation from the first one, but it also is delving into a different character more. It is still in the perspective of Cassie, but you see this other character and their backstory more in this one, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed how I could see parallels and I could pinpoint different episodes of Criminal Minds that I could have seen these things in. Really enjoyed that. The new character that was introduced in this one, I enjoyed a lot. And I don't know, I really enjoyed the second one a lot more. I enjoyed my time a lot more. Even though there still is the love triangle and everything. And there was repetition, like, it was repetitive in certain aspects of what this thing that Cassie kept bringing up within the story. But other than that, it was still, I still enjoyed it, like, way more than the first one. Even though the first one I did enjoy, I think it was even better than the first one. And I would recommend it. I think it's amazing. I didn't get the other two from the library because I just wanted to, because I didn't know for sure if I was going to enjoy it, because it is a YA series and I'm not as big in YA anymore, but I did really enjoy it. So I'm really hoping to get the other two from the library at some point, but as of right now, that's not the case. But that is all that I've read thus far. From January, I DNF'd 2 books, read 3, didn't read anything in February, and then in March, I read 3 books. So I think that's pretty good. It's been a tough time. It's been a lot of things going on. I got married, so that was amazing, but I hope to continue doing these every month like I was trying to last year, and hopefully I can do a better job than last year. I did start later in doing these later last year, I think. Hopefully I can keep the momentum going. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's probably all over the place. I'm a little rusty on these videos because I haven't done them in a bit, so bear with me a bit while I'm trying to get my bearings, and I don't have my husband here to help me with the lighting or the camera, so I'm doing it all by myself, so bear with me. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you do enjoy my videos, please feel free to give a like and subscribe. I love to have you here. It really makes my day, and I love seeing you here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.